Hi, everybody. So it is Sunday late at night, around 10 o'clock. I'm sorry I didn't get any videos put on this weekend. Just needed to take a little breather, spend some time with my family, indulge in these pre-spring days, and actually ground myself with nature for a couple days. So I wanted to get on here and just kind of discuss about panic attacks. So I take what they call night terrors. So yesterday morning was a bad morning for me. Woke up right off the hop first thing in the morning, right before 5 a.m. Um, and I find it's very hard to control going from a subconscious panic attack into a conscious panic attack. With night terrors, you usually wake up not remembering what you were dreaming about, but just remembering like your cells obtain the feeling of the trauma. So when you wake up, you just wake up panicked and don't know what has really panicked you. You just have that feeling like you've just been fighting for your life. Um, Yesterday morning, very different for me. I woke up, I could remember everything. When I woke up, I could smell his smell right beside me. I could feel his breath on my neck. It was just one of those moments that can make you or break you. I find, like, for panic attacks, anxiety, I have a pretty good grip over my triggers and knowing when it's leading up and how to remove myself and ground myself. When it is a subconscious to conscious panic attack, you don't have that opportunity to pinpoint your three things that are grounded to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You get what I'm saying. So yesterday was just one of those days. So that's why I just decided that this weekend was going to be a nature searching weekend. It was really great. I spent time, unfortunately, with just two of my children. My other two children were gone, spend the weekend with their father. So, but it was nice to have that, just that time and the nice weather and to get outside and smell the fresh air. So, um, I just, so this just kind of got me thinking a lot about different little things when it comes to being in an abusive relationship. And I've heard this term said a lot to me, especially in the last 2 years, um, about living life after abuse. I'm not gonna lie to you. That was a really hard thing for me to say, and I think for me it was more of coming to terms with saying uh, that I have lived life with abuse in multiple different ways, but I am making this reference in regards to my relationship with my ex. So for me, I guess I was thinking just, reflecting yesterday and today about those little moments that when I was in the relationship, they didn't hit me nearly as hard as when I was out of it. And as I would say it to people and they would repeat it back to me and I would hear it coming out of somebody else's mouth, it would just sometimes just stop me dead in my tracks. Just sitting there listening to what they just said to me, being like, oh my God. And then realizing that they're just repeating back my own story. So, a thing for me was after I had my tubes tied, after I had Ruthie, so my ex and I had 6 children in total between the two of us. We both had two when we met and had two together. I remember just being so exhausted. I remember after having my tubes tied, getting sent home, with this little note saying you couldn't lift the baby, you couldn't be cleaning, you couldn't be doing this, that, a whole checklist to follow. And Just because I went and had surgery doesn't mean the world stops, right? Somebody still had to do it. The kids still had to be fed. The house still had to be cleaned. You know, life had to keep moving forward. I got sick. I was feeling just so bad. I started, I started actually like bleeding from my incision in my belly button. Called the doctor. Already knew I either tore something inside or I had some sort of infection from not following what I was told to do. I went upstairs and ran a bath. It was in the middle of the night. And I ran a bath. The kids were all sleeping. He was asleep. I just needed 5 minutes to myself to just convince myself that tomorrow would be a better day and everything was going to be okay. And he came upstairs and he came flying through the bathroom door and he started screaming and demanding I give him my cell phone, which I didn't even have on me. It was dead downstairs. And just lost it. Woke all the kids up. Called me down to the lowest, told me I was up there trying to escape him. I should be in fucking bed when he's in bed. Anyways, I didn't run a bath again until I was in the shelter. And this beautiful, beautiful soul of a worker came and said to me, I'm going to take the kids downstairs and play. Go run yourself a hot bath. And it crippled me. I remember it hitting me just as she said the words to me, like, go run yourself a hot bath. And I was just stunned looking at her. And I went upstairs and I ran this bath. And I sat on the side of the bathtub. And I watched as the water began to fill up. And I felt so guilty. So guilty for running that bath. And so guilty for just gonna get in it. That I didn't. I sat on the edge of that tub. And I stared at the water in that tub. And I just sat there and thought back to that night. The little things of control that don't always jump right out in front of you when you're actually in the situation really, really start coming out the further you are away from the situation. When it came to control, right down to showering, when I was allowed to shower, and if I was to shower alone. When we first got together, I was a CCA. One morning we were getting ready to go. He was fooling around. This was back before the colors started to shine. And anyways, I was like, you're taking too long. I'm going to get you ready. Was tormenting him, put his socks on, and was a ha-ha. That became a form of control. To the point that every morning, this man would take his socks and set it on the counter and let me know that they were there. That when I was done getting the kids ready, when I was done doing what I was doing. A form of control. My sense of humor over something foolish at the beginning of mine and his relationship then became a form of control for almost 3 years. It was insane. I remember the first time I actually heard myself say that out loud. About putting his socks on. About not being able to shower on my own free will when I wanted. It was always a big ordeal. If I showered and he came home and knew I showered, he'd just be looking at me like, what were you doing? Why wouldn't you wait for me? Which I understand is a big thing in a relationship, that you're always trying to keep things alive. But When you can't even go in and shower on your own without your partner being upset, that's abuse. When your partner tells you that you're a worthless piece of shit, that you can't do anything right in life, that you'd be better off fucking dead and so would the world. When they get you so low that you're on the floor breaking, and then they come back over, and it's, I'm sorry, I love you, you're so beautiful, you mean the world to me. That's gaslighting. It's a form of control. They break you down in every way possible, and then they're the shoulder that you cry on. They're the ones that rebuild you. I've never ran a bath for myself or my children from that day and not sat there and thought about that moment as the tub was filling up. Most women try to leave up to 7 times before they ever successfully get out, if they're lucky enough to get out. I tried to leave so many times, and no matter where I went or who I was there with, he found me. I was 32 weeks pregnant with Jace. This was the day that I stopped speaking to my parents for 2 years. That was the first day. Got up in the morning. We were to have a baby doctor's appointment that day. He grabbed a cell phone. He headed upstairs. Usual routine every morning, same thing, right to the bathroom. Came back downstairs, put the phone down on the end table, headed back up. The phone started vibrating. This is my cell phone. It's vibrating. I was scared shitless to touch that phone because of how he would react if he came downstairs and found me on it. It kept vibrating. He wasn't coming down. I picked up the phone. I was 32 weeks pregnant with our first child together. The phone was nothing but videos and messages coming through from all these different women. To know that the person that is supposed to love you would rather be upstairs on a piece of technology talking to other women while you're 32 weeks pregnant, just praying that he gives you a little bit of his time, makes you feel like you're not just worthless. He came downstairs and my mouth got ahead of my mind, and I called him out on it. I said, what the hell is going on? So what is going on with all these things coming up on this phone? I said, why are you up there texting these other women? I said, like, you want nothing to do with me, but you're upstairs with these other women, texting these other women on a cell phone while I'm down here just surviving. That day was the day that I really got trapped in that relationship. He lost it. He told me I was fucking crazy. Wasn't him. Just stupid links coming up off the internet. It was probably me on it. He told me to pull my shit together, start the van because he was going to have a shower. We had a baby doctor's appointment and we weren't going to be late. I got dressed. I put on burgundy pair of leggings, a black tank top, a black North Face coat, beige boots that I bought from Ardene's that had no tread on the bottom and fur around the top. And I went out and I started that van. I started that van and I stood there for a minute in the driveway. And to this day, I can never tell you how or why it hit me the way it did in that moment. I left the van running in the driveway. I lived up on Elliott Street at the time, and I just started walking. I walked down, I took the side roads. All I could think of in my head was if I could get to the walking trail, I could cut across by the Altamar, I could make it up Scotch Hill, I could be safe with my parents. I got to the trail. It was nothing but ice. I started walking, just taking my time. And I just remember hearing the behind me. And I didn't even have to turn around to know who was just standing on that trail right behind me. When I turned around, he was fucking pissed. I do not know how the ice did not melt around that man in that moment. He started screaming, told me I was fucking crazy, asked me what the fuck was wrong with me, told me he hoped I died, I lost the baby, so I was worthless, and he would never want to be tied to me for life. So in that moment in time, you have two options. I could either run with these shit-ass boots I had on from Ardene's, cute little things, just shit-ass for traction on ice, 32 weeks pregnant, or I turn around and face it. So I turned around. I took all of his verbal lashings. I told him I was done. I said enough's enough. I'm so tired of this shit. So done with it. I got around him heading back towards the van. And he fell to the ice. And he laid there and beat his hands and feet like a toddler having a tantrum. I should have kept walking. But the part of me that he just had so much control over, that made me feel like I needed his love or I was nothing in life, turned around and picked him up off the ice. I got back in the van. We headed across the causeway over to the Aberdeen, into our baby doctor's appointment. We didn't speak the whole drive. We did not speak in the office. We got back in the van to go back towards Pictou. We come down onto the turn that, like on the on-ramp that you would take heading down into the causeway before the Mount William overpass there, sorry. And he slammed the brakes on in this van so fucking hard that he literally locked my seatbelt up across me, and I had the edge bruised into my chest for about a week and a half. He turned around, he unbuckled his seatbelt, and he got as close over the console to me as he could. And he told me, he said, "You either smarten the fuck up," he said, "and you start fucking talking to me." He said, "or you get the fuck out of here and you walk home." I just started crying. I just, in that moment, like, just couldn't pull myself together enough to not cry. And he grabbed me by the coat, and he told me to stop fucking crying or he'd punch every fucking tooth down my throat. I told him to get his hands off me. He told me to get the fuck out and walk. So I did. I got out of this van 32 weeks pregnant on the side of the highway, and I started walking. All I could think in my head was, just get the fuck away from him, Katie. Get away from this and get the fuck away from him. And he got out of the van and came after me. He grabbed my coat 3 times. Third time he grabbed me, I turned around and I pushed him back. And I told him, I said, "Don't put your hands on me. Don't touch me." I said, "Leave me alone. You told me to get the fuck out. I got out. I'm gonna walk. Leave me alone. And he grabbed me by the scruff of my coat up here by my shoulders, and he spun me to face him right inside the road. He looked me dead in the eyes and he said, "No wonder your first husband never loved you." And then a woman pulled up that worked with my mother. And she begged me to get in her truck. And I think about this every day. I wish I just got in her truck. But I didn't. I was so embarrassed. I was mortified. I remember standing there on the side of the highway while this woman is like pleading with me and asking me like, what the fuck is going on? And just thinking, oh my God, I just wanted to crumble in her arms and tell her everything. But I didn't. I didn't. And that was the last day that I spoke to my mother and father. Until the day I called them to tell them that I left. And I was in a shelter. The reason that is the day that I got fully trapped was because he got one more gain on me with that. It was one more form of control. He would get wound up in me. He would tell me, "You're fucking useless. Your own parents don't love you. Nobody gives a fuck if you're dead or alive." Even though I knew that wasn't true in my heart. That I knew my parents still loved me. That was something that broke me every time that he would say that to me. And he knew that. He knew. He knew that day that he won. When they break every form of support you have and they pull you away from everything in the world, it's so you feel like they're all you have to survive. He finished off his drive that day across that causeway, screaming at me the whole drive to kiss my ass goodbye, and he hoped I could fucking swim. That van was going so fast, I could hear the motor wailing to keep up. As I looked from side to side out the windows, running through my head if he flipped us into that water. This is right after Christmas. End of December, 1st of January. How was I going to break the window to get the fuck out? This man is screaming at the top of his lungs, flying across the fucking causeway, telling me that this is it. 32 weeks pregnant, with mine and his first child together. Telling me he could hope. He hoped I could fucking swim. And I was so embarrassed to tell anybody. That I ended up staying for another 2 years. And those 2 years had a lot of bad moments. Really bad moments. So, some days I may not get on here to post a video. As I'm on here sharing my stories, It's a form of healing for myself. So sometimes after I just spiel so much out, I just need to step back and just breathe. Digest it in my own body. And remind myself why I want to share as much as my stories as I can. So, much love to y'all. Thank you so much for following me and all the support. If there's ever anything you need to talk to, please reach out. I have so many things that I want to share and I want to make sense of for anybody who's tuning in and needs just a little sense made out of that. And also for myself, I just really hope that me being on here will save another woman, will save another human, will save another person. Sometimes just by knowing that you're not the only one in the world that's feeling like that, going through that, or has gone through it. I hope you guys all had a great weekend. And I hope you always remember that even little steps will always count towards your end goal. You're doing amazing. Don't forget that. Love yourself first. The rest will come into place. I hope you guys have a great Monday tomorrow. Till we talk again.